What is an ion? In this video, we will explore what is an ion, what are the types of ions, and how are ions formed. An ion is a charged atom or molecule. So it's charged, and this means that it has an electrical charge. This electrical charge can be either positive or negative. Positive is expressed as a plus sign and negative is expressed as a minus sign. It is charged because the number of electrons is not equal to the number of protons in the atom or molecule. You know that in a neutral atom, the number of protons equal the number of electrons. So the atom is electrically neutral and has no charge. As for the ion, it has a charge because the number of protons is different than the number of electrons. Ions are electrically charged particles, so they either have a positive or a negative charge. And they are formed when atoms lose or gain electrons. By this loss or gain of electrons, the ion is formed and therefore it gains a charge. Let's look at some examples. This is Cl- chloride ion. Notice the negative charge on the top right corner. This indicates that chlorine gained an electron to become chloride ion, and that is because Cl- has a negative charge and the electron also has a negative charge. So this means that Cl gained an electron. As for the magnesium ion, Mg2+, it has a positive charge. Now, did Mg lose or gain electrons? It has a positive charge, and the charge of electron is negative. So Mg did not gain, but it lost electrons. And it actually lost 2 electrons because the charge is 2+. O2- has a negative charge, 2-. S2- has a negative charge as well. Al3+ means that Al lost 3 electrons, so that it became Al3+. Li+ has a positive charge, which means it lost the negative charge, which is electrons. But how many electrons? It's 1 electron because the charge is Li+ and not 2+ or 3+. Ions can be positive ion, and we call them cations, like Mg2+, Al3+, and Li+. So you see the charge is positive. And they can be negative ions, and we call them anions. For example, Cl-, S2-, and O2-. They have a negative charge. So there are 2 kinds of ions. Cations lost electrons to have a positive charge, and anions gained electrons and they have a negative charge. Moving on to ionic bonding. We studied covalent bonding before, and now we will study the second type of bond, which is ionic bonding. Now, what is ionic bonding? Ionic bonding is a kind of bonding in which there has been a transfer. So focus on transfer, it's the key word here. There is a transfer of electrons from one atom to another to produce ions. So consider 2 atoms, each have a certain number of electrons. Ionic bonding occurs when there is a transfer of electrons from one atom to the other. So one atom will lose electrons and the other atom will gain electrons. And therefore, there is formation of ions. Again, focus on the word transfer. It is the key word here. The substance is held together by strong electrical attractions between positive and negative ions. So one ion has a positive charge and one has a negative charge. So attraction occurs between the two opposite poles, and therefore the substance will be held together by this force of attraction. There is always positive and negative ions because there is loss and gain of electrons. Elements that are called metals tend to lose electrons. So metals have a positive charge because they lost electrons, they lost some of their negative charge. Elements that are called nonmetals tend to gain electrons. So nonmetals have a negative charge because they gained electrons, and electrons have a negative charge. So they gained this negative charge of electrons. These are some elements. All of the elements in the first row have a positive charge when they become ions. A positive charge means that they lost electrons, like metals, for example. And the elements in the second row form negative ions because they gain electrons. And in the box to the right, notice the formation of ionic compounds. So an ionic bond is formed between a negative ion and a positive ion. For example, take a look at NaCl, sodium chloride compound. It's held together by an ionic bond between the positive Na plus ion and the negative Cl minus ion. Ionic compound is a chemical compound of cations and anions which are held together by ionic bonds. So an ionic compound is a chemical compound, first of all. It's made up of cations, which are positive, and anions, which are negative, and they are held together by ionic bonds because positive and negative charges attract each other.